This is recording 10.4, Rickettsias and Chlamydias. Rickettsias and chlamydias are bacteria, but for a long time they were thought to be virus-like or some type of intermediate life form between the viruses and the bacteria. So one of the reasons that they were thought to be this intermediate form or to be more virus-like is because of their size. You're looking here at a PowerPoint figure from chapter 13 on the viruses, and they're showing you here in the kind of blue some of the different viruses, and this is proportionate, so it's sort of scaled. And in the blue here are all of these different virus sizes, and in the brown is, so here is the bacteria. This is an E. coli, and then here is a chlamydia, and you can see that chlamydia is much closer to viral size than it is to the E. coli. They couldn't even put the whole E. coli on the figure here, so that chlamydia is smaller than this Ebola. It's about the same size as this vaccinia virus down here. So chlamydias are closer to viral size and than they are to the other bacteria. And the other reason that rickettsias and chlamydias were thought to be virus-like is because they are obligate intracellular parasites. So they have to be inside of a host to complete their life cycle. However, they do have plasma membranes, so they do have, like other bacteria, they do have a plasma membrane, they do have ribosomes, they have cytoplasm, and so morphologically and biochemically they are bacteria. So the fact that size-wise they were like viruses, and the fact that they have to be inside a host, that is not evidence enough to support the fact that they were that they're virus-like. So chlamydias and rickettsias are in fact bacteria. They're kind of odd bacteria, but they are bacteria. So let's talk about them a little bit here. So we're looking here at a rickettsias, and here this rickettsias is coming out of a host, and so it's been released from a host, and here it's showing you rickettsias that are growing inside a chicken embryo. So again, they're completing their life inside the host. So rickettsias are implicated in disease. This rash here is caused by Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Rickettsias are spread by arthropod vectors. A vector is a carrier. Arthropods are things like fleas, lice, ticks. So Rocky Mountain spotted fever is a tick-borne disease. So in areas that are part of the tick belt, so if you look from like North Carolina down to about Georgia and go, imagine like a swath there going to the Rocky Mountains, so to Colorado, that's the tick belt of the United States. And those areas are areas that are susceptible to Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, it causes this rash. Unfortunately, the symptoms start appearing before the rash does in most instances. So anytime that you are hiking or walking in a area where ticks might be prevalent, and these tend to be the great big ticks that you can get on your dog, you want to make sure that any areas where a tick could attach to your skin, make sure that those areas are covered up with boots, pants, a hat, anything like that, long sleeves. And when you get home from a hike or a walk in an area like that, make sure that you check areas of your skin. It takes 24 hours for a tick to complete its feed. And so that's how long it takes for that tick to spread any of these tick-borne diseases. So if you get that tick off within an hour or so of coming home, it vastly reduces your chance of getting a tick-borne illness. The way you remove a tick is with tweezers. You get close to where it's attached onto the skin, grasp it firmly with the tweezers, and pull it straight out. The other methods that you may have heard of, like coating it with Vaseline or trying to burn it, are going to greatly enhance your possibility of getting a tick-borne illness. Ticks, when they complete their feed, and they feed on your blood, so as they feed, they fill up with blood, and then at the end of that, it usually takes 18 to 24 hours, so at the end of that they defecate. It's when they release their stomach contents that the organism is released. So if you can remove it long before that happens, your chances of getting that tick-borne illness are going to be greatly reduced. On the other hand, if you burn it, you're going to kill it. Also, you're going to increase the possibility that you're going to burn yourself as well. If you coat it with Vaseline or something like that, you're going to smother it. Anything that you do to kill that tick while it's still attached to you is going to increase your probability that you're going to get that tick-borne illness. So try to remove it while it's still alive and clean the area well. And that will greatly reduce your chances of getting any tick-borne illness. Rocky Mountain spotted fever is not related at all to Lyme disease. Lyme disease is caused by a spirochete. Rocky Mountain spotted fever is caused by rickettsia. It causes a high fever, headache, confusion, and then this rash. it can be fatal, especially in small children. It is treatable if you get treatment right away. So if there is any possibility that you may have been infected with a tick, you want to make sure that you get treatment right away. This is particularly harmful for small children. So if there's any possibility that your child has been playing in a tick infested area, you want to check them over, especially their hair and other areas where a tick might have remained hidden. Rickettsial illnesses can be very, very harmful. That brings us then to chlamydias. Oh, by the way, rickettsias and chlamydias, because they are bacteria, you can gram stain them. They're gram negative, non-modal. Okay, so chlamydias. Chlamydias tend to be brought into a cell during pinocytosis, so when the cell invaginates, and they reproduce inside the vesicle then, and then when a number of them have reproduced, then they are released then by exocytosis. So chlamydias also are implicated in infection. Worldwide, chlamydias cause trachoma. Trachoma is an infection of the eye. These organisms reproduce on the eyelid, just inside there, and scrape the cornea there, causing blindness. They are the leading cause of infectious blindness worldwide. The organism is spread in areas where there isn't sufficient water, and the organism is spread on flies when there isn't enough clean water to wash the face, and then it spreads from one person to the next on the pad of the housefly, on the fly, and it gets a lot of crusty material on the eye and around the nose and the mouth. So in the United States, this can cause conjunctivitis. It's a particularly severe form of conjunctivitis, or as a lot of us call pink eye. This can be spread again on the hand. For a lot of us, this spreads as a urogenital infection. The conjunctivitis can be passed to the infant then, as it passes through the birth canal of an infected mother. As a result, they have begun treating all newborns with antibiotic ointment at birth. In the 1900s, early 1900s, it was mandated by law that all newborns be treated with silver nitrate drops to prevent blindness caused by gonorrhea. This was replaced with this antibiotic ointment. Silver nitrate will not treat, it won't kill chlamydia in the eye. And so the ointment replaced the silver nitrate drops, 70s or 80s in this country. Sadly, chlamydial infections can be nearly silent in women. When males get chlamydia, they have a little bit more symptoms. Males tend to have burning in the urethra, and but even at that, those symptoms will go away for males. This infection can move more internally in males and can infect the prostate, or even move more internally and infect the epididymis. For females, can be almost asymptomatic when they get chlamydia. They may have some discharge from the vagina. If it's not treated, those symptoms will go away, and that infection can move more internally, can infect the fallopian tubes, or uterine tubes as they're more commonly known. It is not unheard of for a woman to have chlamydial infection for many years. Many women get their gynecological care from private private practitioners, unless women ask to be tested from private practitioners, or unless they're very symptomatic with gonorrhea or chlamydia, they may not recognize that they have this. Pap smears only check symptoms of changes on the cervix that are symptomatic of cervical cancer, uterine cancer. So many women think that they have been checked for symptoms of STDs or STIs, and they really have not been. So it is not uncommon for women to go untreated for STDs for many years, and this can cause scarring on the uterine tubes, leading to infertility. Or they may not recognize, like a couple can have STD for many years and not even recognize that they've perhaps gone into a marriage with this. So one of the things for couples going into for healthcare practitioners is to recognize that anybody who is sexually active, that they can pick up things like chlamydia and not recognize. women in particular are vulnerable to STDs because they, with the semen there in the vagina, they retain the bacteria or the virus or whatever that. And men, on the other hand, because only the surface of the penis is exposed there, they may not have that, the exposure time necessary to retain that infection. So when dealing with a populace, when checking for STDs with in a healthcare field, you have to be very just very gentle with people who are exposed. Remember that viruses, bacteria, and so on are no respecter of person. If someone is in the risk group, they can get it. They don't pay any attention to whether or not you have gone to church that week or how much money you make or anything else. Someone who is in the risk group is every bit as likely to get an STD as anyone else. And while we tend to think of younger people getting STDs, in the United States at this point, the group that is getting STDs at increasingly rapid rates right now are the elderly. There are a number of reasons for this. One of them is elderly people thinking that they're not at risk, thinking that other elderly people don't get these diseases. One of them is that persons with dementia losing their inhibitions and having sex in care facilities and not taking precautions as a result. A number of other reasons as well, but elderly people, and really when I say elderly, I should really be saying seniors, because people over 60, 65 are increasingly at risk for any sexually transmitted infection or disease. So the CDC is recognizing that things like chlamydia, HIV, hepatitis C, and other sexually transmitted infections and diseases are being found in ever increasing numbers in older individuals.